Hey guys, it's Devin here. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be doing a book review on First Things First by Stephen Covey. So first I want to say Stephen Covey is an amazing author. He's written this book, and the other book I've also read by him is called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I'm sure you might have heard of it, maybe not have read it, especially this one's a little less known. But give a little brief insight. This was actually my first book that I've ever read. It actually got me into reading itself. It was published in 1994 and it was Covey's first book. So the main mission today is to take the main concept out of the book, the biggest main concept, and explain it to you guys if you haven't read the book already. I can't go through the whole book. It would honestly take me hours. I have so much to say about it. But today I'm just going to describe to you guys the main version of the book, the main topic of the book, how I use it, and how hopefully other people can use it too. So let's get to it. So to first understand the concept of first things first, we got to differentiate two important concepts. So we have what we call a clock, and we have what's called a compass. And both might seem pretty standard, pretty obvious, but let's just give it a better meaning. So for the clock, a clock represents, our time in our day. It represents our appointments, our schedule, what we're doing in the day-to-day things. That's the clock. Now over here is the compass. Compass actually is very different. Our compass is our mission. It's our goals, it's our values, our principles, and more importantly, it's our true north. And what true north means is what we want to set out and accomplish in life, what we're driving for. So some people, it could be, I want to be a professional soccer player. So their true north is over here. Some people want to be a rock star. Their true north's over there. Some people want to be a realtor, their true north's over there. So everyone has their own compass that's pointing their own direction. So that's the first thing we need to get from this concept. So our true north needs to align with our schedule, our goals, our clock, our time in the day. So what should be guiding us in our day-to-day schedule and lives is our true north. If we want to be a professional soccer player, it better be in the time in our day. We better be doing something that makes us go forward into our true north. We shouldn't, if we want to be a soccer player, spending 8 hours the day doing meaningless things, watching Netflix, things like that aren't committed to our true north. So we need to make sure we have some type of system that sets us up for success, sets us up to go to our true north. So I'm going to roll back in my chair a little bit to show you a matrix up here that you might see. It's called the urgency matrix. And there's 4 quadrants, and I'll go through them nice and slowly for us. The first quadrant 1 at the top, is our urgent and important. So think of these as pressing things. Let's use an example for me. As a realtor, what's important and urgent is meeting with a client, doing a showing, setting up an offer, doing paperwork for something that needs to be done today or yesterday. Important things like that. So that's urgent and important things that we have to get done. Now up there as well on the top right hand side is urgent and important. Or non-urgent, and important. Non-urgent. So what does that mean? Things that aren't pressing, things that we don't have to do right now, right? But they are important. So I want to give you an example. For me, what's not urgent but important is working out. It's actually spending time with my family and my friends. What else could it be? For me, it's prospecting. Making sure I have clients for the future. Prospecting is important, but I wouldn't say it's absolutely urgent and we need to do it, but it is 100% important for the business. So those are things that would be not urgent, but important. Sorry, I stumbled in there. And then in the bottom right-hand side, or left-hand side here, we have urgent, but not important. So back to me again, maybe it's just, I need to buy new socks. It's probably urgent. If I have some smelly or old socks, I probably need some new socks. It's urgent. But how important is it? Probably not that important in the long run. Or something like calling a friend that you missed their call and it's not super important, but they just wanted to know if you wanted to hang out in a couple of weeks, or something silly like that. Not something crazy, like they have to hang out with you and tell you something huge, but something that isn't very important. And then the last quadrant, we call this we don't want to be there quadrant. It's not important and it's not urgent. And I think we all know the time wasters in this. Netflix, Instagram, scrolling through Instagram. I mean, you can think of 1,000 things that we probably shouldn't be doing. We know we shouldn't be doing to be successful, but we kind of are. But that is the quadrant, the urgency matrix that I want to explain with you guys. So this matrix can be used for everyone, and it doesn't need to be super complicated. I'll give another example. Say you want to be we'll say professional soccer player. We got up top there, urgent and important. Well, I could only think, I'm thinking of a soccer game. It's probably urgent, it's probably important. You can't miss that time. That's going to be in our urgent and important. Now, what is also very important but not urgent is probably practice. That is something we should definitely have there. So what are we doing to stay fit? Are we getting stronger? Are we doing soccer drills? Are we eating right? Are we planning our sleep before the big game right? Those are definitely important things that are going to help us be a professional soccer in the long run, but they aren't considered urgent, so we don't necessarily stare at them at the very beginning of the day, and we know that's there, but we should know it's important. And then we have down here urgent but important. Let's just say, again, you rip your sock, or you need new cleats or something, you need a new bag or something. It's urgent, of course, because you need a bag, but how really important is it to be a professional soccer player? Probably not that important. And then again, if we see the last quadrant there, not urgent, not important, same things, I'm assuming. Social media, Netflix, things that we know we shouldn't be doing. So that's just another example for a soccer player who wants to be a professional. You can apply this to business, what you're doing in school. Honestly, any schedule works. Just try to set up a system that will help you. Now, your system should have a multitude of things in it. Well, at least for me. So, like I said, I want to be a successful realtor. That's definitely something in my true north. However, I also want to have a great relationship with my family. So, a family is important to me. I also want to be in great shape, being an athlete, something important to me. I want to continuously learn and self-improve. That's something important to me. And those are all goals that I have, and I want to include them on my schedule, as I'm sure most of you do. So I'm going to give you a little example of how I time my schedule around my quadrant 2 activities and what I really do and what my schedule actually looks like.
So this is my quadrant 2 things for today, Monday. It's not always like this, and there's a reason why I have little dots going around, because they're very much adjustable. Like I said, they're not set in stone, they're not like completely squared off. It's open, but this is what I would love as a perfect schedule. So Monday, I want to get up 8 a.m. and read. Like I said, self-improvement is super important for me, and I just want to be constantly learning. So I want to read for 30 minutes. Now, what happens in between, here and here, is not super important. Obviously, it's not a quadrant 2 thing, so I don't have it here, and anything can really fill up that time. But now, when I get to 11 a.m. or to now 3 p.m., I want to be working on my business. I want to be doing things that are important. Now, like I said, these times can definitely change, but I want to spend a good 4 hours working on my business, because that's something, a true north to me. And then lastly, we have family time. Like I said, family is important. So an hour from 5 to 6, spending time with family, having dinner, talking, seeing what's up. And then lastly, like I said, I want to be a great athlete, and that requires working out and doing the work. So that could be 1 hour of running, lifting weights, hitting soccer fields, and just doing things like that. So those are all quadrant 2 activities. Like I said, this is my schedule, and it's not always the exact same, but everyone can have some sort of system in place like this with their quadrant 2 things, their true north principles, that they can replace and use for themselves.
So as you can see, my quadrant 2 activities did take up the majority of the day. And as Stephen Covey would say in the book, that is the way to be successful. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to be successful because those are things that I'm doing, but I'm going to be successful in my own way, if that makes any sense. So I have some statistics here that Stephen Covey did mention in the book. And it's how you should use your time in those 4 quadrants. So if we can remember, it's not urgent, and urgent, important, and non-important. So the first quadrant, which is important and urgent, we should be spending 20 to 25% roughly amount of our time in the day on those activities. So like I said, for me, writing a big offer, handling important paperwork, having a meeting with a client, explaining something to them, definitely should take up at least 20% of our day. We can't really get around those, and they are super important and urgent. Now, the big thing that I was talking about, quadrant 2, so believe it or not, you should be spending 65 to 80% of your time in this quadrant. So that's why when I showed you my schedule before, I only had 4 big blocks that I had, but it did take up a chunk of my day. I don't know percentage-wise, but it did take a part of my day. So that should be the time spent, 65 to 80% of your day on quadrant 2 activities according to Covey. And then down to urgent, but not important, it's 15%. So a smaller part of your day. And then not important, not urgent, I'm sure you guys can all guess, it should be less than 1% of your day. I'll be completely honest, you know, every day varies, but for me, it's definitely not 1%, unfortunately. I do slack off, but what's important is I do have a plan and a schedule and a system set in place so I can have my quadrant 2 activities taking over the day and at least feeling satisfied at the end of the day that I did get things done. So I hope this video did give you guys a little bit on the book, First Things First. Of course, I really recommend you guys read it for yourself. I know I did a little review of it, but there's a lot more principles, I promise, in the book. And thank you guys so much for watching, and, you know, keep it real.